If Candace Owens' actions and requests are to pull the donations from Turning Point and malign the people involved with it so that no one wants to be involved.
All right, folks, buckle up. We're diving headfirst into a political cage match that's got the right-wing media landscape absolutely buzzing. Forget the Democrats for a second. The real fireworks are happening right here within our own ranks of the Republican Party. We're talking about Tim Pool, Candace Owens, and a feud so wild, it's got assassination claims, miraculous bullet deflections, and apparently some French noblemen involved. It sounds like a bad Netflix series, but unfortunately, it is real life. It shows just how quickly things go sideways when principles clash, well, with whatever this is. So let's find out the real truth.
The question then becomes, what will Turning Point be a year from now? And if Candace's actions say anything, and she succeeds, Turning Point will have been destroyed. Charlie's legacy gone. Everything he built erased and but a memory. That is what Candace is working towards because she hates Charlie Kirk. What is going to happen in the midterms? And the people that once stood together are now all fighting with each other. And I got to tell you, I am black-pilled.
Whoa, hold your horses. Tim Pool here is sounding like he just watched his favorite football team lose the Super Bowl, his favorite baseball team lose the World Series, and hell, might as well say the entire political season all at once. He's not just concerned, he's black-pilled? What does that mean? And ready to call out Candace Owens, the architect of conservative dome? Now let's unpack this. Is Candace Owens truly trying to destroy Charlie Kirk's legacy? Or is she simply just asking uncomfortable questions that challenge the established narrative? It's a classic move. When you can't defend the message, you attack the messenger. Hello, that's exactly what Tim's doing. Painting her as someone who hates Charlie Kirk is a convenient way to dismay or displease or dismiss his points without actually addressing them. And the idea that one person, yeah, Candace Owens, is solely responsible for the potential failure of midterms? That's a bit rich, isn't it? It feels like a little convenient scapegoat deflecting from deeper systematic issues within the Republican Party that might actually be driving voters away. It is a little chaotic right now. Are we really going to pretend the entire conservative movement rests on Candace Owens' investigative journalism? Give me a break. This isn't just infighting. It's a public spectacle designed to draw lines in the sand. You step over here, you're going to have a problem. But is it a healthy debate or a distractive division? When does questioning the official story become destroying a legacy? For many on the right, challenging the status quo, even within your own party, it seems essential. But for others, it's betrayal? It's a fascinating, if messy, dynamic. So before we let Tim Pool drag us all into the abyss of black pill despair, it's ridiculous. Let's ask ourselves, is this genuine concern for the movement, or is it performance art, outrage designed to show control the narrative and silence dissent? Because if you can't convince people someone is evil or destructive, you don't have to engage with their argument. You can walk away anytime.
Well, Tim Pool is having a bit of a public crash out over Candace Owens, who he claims is grifting off of the assassination of Charlie Kirk, who she does not hate, who was actually a friend of hers, and is making money off of his assassination. At the same time, he's accusing her of costing Republicans the midterms. Cenk, what are your 2 cents?
Yeah, so I'm fascinated by this GOP Civil War. So before it made some sense to me, it was lining up as the people who are America first versus the people that are Israel first. But now things have taken a turn. I'm not really sure where Tim Pool stands on that. His issue might be completely different, but man, are they fracturing. As you're going to see here, there's just wars on every side for the right wing.
So I had been watching Candace Owens' show not because I agree with her politics, for all the people whose heads exploded when I said that offhand one day on this show, but because I want to understand what she's saying. So when we're talking about her on this show, I do the story justice, because after all, at one point recently, she was the top podcast in the country. Everyone was listening to her, everyone was watching her, and I just wanted to be in the know. And I'm going to be fully honest with you guys. I lost track of what's going on. Like, it's so hard to keep track of this, semi investigation that's taking place. Like, she's using her show to investigate the assassination of Charlie Kirk. I will admit that I'm not very trusting of our FBI. And I do feel that Kash Patel did a horrible job from the jump in regard to responding to Charlie Kirk's assassination. That said, there are all these different threads that Candace Owens is following, and I've lost track of them. France is involved. There's Egyptian jets. Like, it's hard to really make sense of it all. But with that in mind, I do get the sense that she does care about figuring out what actually happened. Now, some people say Tyler Robinson did it. We have all the evidence we need. Let's move it along. She's not buying it. And so as she's doing these shows and garnering a pretty significant audience while doing so, she's getting attacked more and more. And by the way, one of the other things that she is doing, and was alluded to by Tim Pool, is she is accusing Turning Point USA of betraying Charlie Kirk. She focuses on some of the Christian Zionist pastors that are associated with Turning Point USA. And the one thing that she did show the receipts on was the fact that, as the head of Turning Point USA, the organization suffered as a result of Charlie Kirk wanting to foster free and open discussion and debate on the topic of Israel. There were people who were denying that, but then she showed the goods. She showed the text message exchanges that made it abundantly clear that he had been bullied so much that he himself said, I have no choice but to leave the pro-Israel cause. And then the next day he was assassinated. So right now there is a divide among the Republican base. Tim Pool claims that he's very much concerned about it. So this whole drama began with Tim Pool's allegations that Candace is tearing MAGA apart with her sleuthing and her investigation into Charlie Kirk's assassination. And she has, again, implied the Turning Point betrayed Charlie. But Candace really doesn't seem to care one bit what Tim Pool has to say about any of this. So what you're about to see is a side-by-side. On one side, it's Candace reacting in real time to the statements that are being made about her by Tim Pool. Take a look.
Instead of saying, guys, let's come together and figure out how to work together, she says the stupidest crap. And now everybody's running around divided and broken. For what reason? For literally what reason?
Because they killed Charlie Kirk in broad daylight and we don't care about your stupid midterms. Tim Pool is going off right now because he's like, it's not the time. You guys need to be mules. You need to keep voting in the very corrupt people that are lying to your faces right now about what happened to Charlie Kirk. It is not the time because it is your job to get people into office. That is the point of a Tim Pool show. It doesn't matter what you are going through at home. I want you guys to hear this, okay? I don't care if you have family members that are dying, family members who have died, if you have children that you care about and you maybe don't want to live in a world that's run by pedophiles. You need to put that all aside and vote for whoever the hell Tim Pool tells you to vote for.
So there's also some important context here, because prior to Charlie Kirk's assassination, it was very clear that Candace Owens had become disillusioned with the Trump administration, was very angry about how the Epstein files were very obviously being covered up by the Trump administration, and was not at all a proponent of US support for Israel's genocide in Gaza. So she was already there mentally, and then the assassination happens. And right now, it seems like people like Tim Pool are up in arms about how she's not helping the Republican cause. But she wasn't really favoring the Republican cause, at least as it's playing out in the Trump administration, even before Charlie Kirk was assassinated. Cenk.
Yeah, there's a couple of things here. One is the substance of these issues. The other is the fight. And the third is the political realignment happening so fast and so thoroughly that it's hard to know who's on which side anymore.
Right. I agree. Yeah.
Yeah. So All right, let's take substance first. Tyler Robinson. Look, I don't know what happened there. If some people say you're under an obligation to believe the government, no, I'm under no such obligation. Other people say you're under an obligation to believe conspiracy theories I came up with yesterday. No, I'm also not under that obligation. You have to prove it out. You have to show evidence. Until we get that, we don't know. But I will tell you this, and this one is easy. I did read he's on suicide watch. If he does not show up to trial and magically commits suicide with no tape around or anything else happens to Tyler Robinson, then he obviously was not the killer.
The
Okay?
biggest thing for me, Jank, is the fact that the weapon that was allegedly used to assassinate Charlie Kirk would have blown right through his neck, but it didn't.
All right, hold on a second. Did we just hear that right? A bullet to the neck from a weapon that would have blown right through was stopped by some miracle because Charlie Kirk was in good shape? While we're at it, why don't we just say that Jesus stopped it? I'm no ballistic expert, but my common sense just didn't pack up its bags and leave the building. This is just a stretch, a full-blown Olympic gymnast routine of logical contortions. We've been asked to believe in a miracle to explain away a physical impossibility. And if that is the official explanation from Turning Point USA, it doesn't exactly inspire confidence, does it? It's kind of a little ridiculous. It sounds less like an investigation and more like a Sunday school lesson. And believe you me, I know about that, being a minister's son. You don't have to lecture me on how Jesus might have saved us. Far too long we've been told that questioning the official narrative, especially when it defines basic science or logic, makes you a conspiracy theorist. This isn't JFK. But when the official story sounds like something out of a comic book, it isn't our civic duty to ask for some actual evidence. We should have some actual evidence. This isn't about believing Candace Owens blindly. It's about demanding a credible explanation from those in power. Simple and easy. Think about how often we've expected to just trust the science or trust the institution. Yet when these institutions offer explanations, that makes no sense. We're supposed to just nod and go along with it. Come on. The FBI, the government agencies, many conservatives have a healthy skepticism of these bodies for good reason. And when they present something this far-fetched, the skepticism isn't just justified, it's expected and required. Before we dismiss Candace Owens' 58 threads as rambling, maybe we should first question why the initial simplified narrative is so utterly unbelievable and sounds so ridiculous. The burden of proof isn't on the person asking, how could that possibly happen? It's on the people offering the miracle as the scientific explanation. Because if we can't even agree on basic physics, how are we supposed to trust anything else that comes out of any agency?
And so the explanation that we received from Turning Point USA about that was that it was a miracle, and that, you know, Charlie was in such great shape that he managed to stop his neck, managed to stop that bullet. I'm not a ballistics expert, but I've watched a lot of videos by ballistics experts, and every single one of them is like shocked by that explanation and doesn't buy it. But again, I think it's totally fine to not trust the FBI and want a more thorough investigation. But I can't really speak to the credibility of what Candace is saying on her show, because I totally lost the thread, or the 58 threads that are currently taking place simultaneously on her show. Like the DuPonts are involved. There's a guy named Pierre. Like, I don't know. But let's get to where things really start to blow up.
Hold on.
Okay.
There's a lot more I was gonna say. So first, look, I don't know if Pierre Cardin did it. I have no idea. But yeah, there's a lot of questionable things. Why did he disassemble the rifle and reassemble it? Why so conveniently engraving the bullets, etc. So, but we'll find out in due time. But if he dies before trial, then he definitely was not the killer. That's so obvious. Please, guys, use common sense, okay? So number two, when you get into the fight between these guys, it seems like Tim Pool's more bothered by like who's got more views and etc. Maybe I'm wrong about that, but like why? Like since he doesn't appear to be Israel first, and I might also be wrong about that. I don't know why he's so animated about Candace's theories. So if I don't agree with some of Candace's theories, and I certainly don't, I don't think that the First Lady of France is a dude. So what? I don't agree with that theory. If I don't agree with any of her theories, it doesn't bother me, right? And so if he's worried that she's splitting the Republican vote apart, okay, but to what end, right?
But also, how about you blame the Trump administration for failing to follow through on its promises on the Epstein files, for edging toward a regime change war in Venezuela, for continuing the genocidal campaign that Israel is carrying out in Gaza. Like, these are things that have actually divided the MAGA base. To say that, Candace Owens unilaterally is doing that is ridiculous to me.
Yeah, one easy guide stick for all of you out there, and it doesn't matter if this is on the left or the right, is that media host looking out for the voters and the principles of your side or anything that you believe in, right? Or is he looking out for politicians, even when those politicians betray the things that you want? So that's why we challenged Obama and Biden so aggressively here on the Young Turks, because I don't really care about their egos and their status and their titles. I care, did they deliver for you? So I think that's what Tim Pool and Candace and everybody else should be looking out for. There, I'm not so scoring between those two on that one. It appears Candace is looking out more for what the MAGA voters originally wanted, and Pool in this case seems to be looking out more for what the politicians want.
So the thumbnail to Candace's response, or at least the video, contained a response to Tim Pool's allegations. The thumbnail to that video featured a tiny photo of Tim Pool, and now he thinks that by including an image of him in the thumbnail, she's trying to get people to think that maybe he had something to do with Charlie Kirk's assassination. But I don't think that's what she's trying to do. I think she just included his image because in the content of that video, she obviously addressed the allegations that he's making about her. But nonetheless, he freaked out about it.
Now, the issue with Candace Owens is when she makes a thumbnail, the $1 billion question, and she puts a mystery man in a Polaroid, the insinuation is obvious, and this is the game she's always played. Who benefited from Charlie Kirk's death? And then she shows Cash and she shows me, because she knows that people who don't pay attention, she knows that regular people scrolling through, they read headlines and they see photos, they insinuate, they connect, and they move on. And that was the point of what she was doing. I believe that it is intentional on her part. The question is, what is the outcome of what she's doing as she pushes these psychopath grifter conspiracies so she can profit off of the death of Charlie Kirk while spitting on his grave and smiling as she does?
Now, things escalated further following something that he alleged happened. He posted about it on X, and then we're going to show you some video clips of him talking about it. And by the way, this is horrific. Okay, so he wrote that, and this is a post from December 6th. Last night, a vehicle, meaning on December 5th, a vehicle approached our property and opened fire. No one was hurt, luckily. Our security team is reviewing the incident and will be relaying the report to appropriate law enforcement. This is the price we pay for speaking out against evil. And then he raged on his show.
When someone pulls in front of my property and fires on it several times, I'm sitting here looking at these vile pieces of and thinking to myself, for what purpose will I stick my neck out if this is what happens after Charlie Kirk is killed? Candace Owens is a evil scumbag. She is a degenerate. She is burning everything down.
Okay, wow. That escalated quickly and rapidly. Tim Pool just went from black-pilled to absolutely unhinged. Dropping terms like evil scumbag and degenerate faster than a politician breaks a promise. This guy is crazy. And to connect Candace Owens' investigation to a violent act against his property without a shred of evidence, that's such a big, huge leap. It's a full-blown moonshot. This isn't the kind of extreme rhetoric that poisons political discourse. This kills the conversation. When you start demoralizing and demonizing people as evil and blaming them for alleged violence, you're not just disgracing them, you're disgracing yourself. You might be disagreeing with them, but you're trying to delegitimate their entire existence and silence them? Come on, you can't silence people. Everybody has a right to their opinion. It's a dangerous game, folks, and it rarely ends well for anybody involved. Then there's the jab about her having no security. Why would you bring that up? While she has to deal with these threats with threats. It's supposed to be a subtle dig, but he acts like it's the biggest thing in the world, implying she's not a real player. Come on. She is just as much a social influence as you do. Suffering isn't a valid point about it. Hey, everybody suffers. Don't act like it's a problem. You guys live a life that everybody would want. It sounds a little strange attempt to gatekeep victimhood, yes, which is never a good look because that's what nobody wants it. We're all supposed to be on the same side, fighting for conservative principles. But suddenly, personal safety becomes a talking point, and a political spat. We might believe different things, but doesn't mean we have to go after each other and try to kill each other. There's a good thing to have different opinions and different thoughts. But when Tim says he's burning everything down, what's everything? Is he actually referring to? Is it the comfortable, unchallenged narrative that are being exposed? Is he afraid to have questions thrown at him? Is it the unity that was perhaps more fragile than we thought? Like, does anybody believe in the conservative movement anymore? Or is it simply the establishment order that Candace Owens, like many populist voices, is challenging? Sometimes burning everything down is just as dramatic way of saying revealing comfortable truths. This outburst isn't just about Candace Owens. There's more to this. It's about the intense pressure and emotional toll of being in the public eye. It's tough, but you chose it, especially when you feel like you're being targeted. Charlie Kirk didn't have an idea he was being targeted, and look what happened there. But it's also a stark reminder of how quickly political disagreements can devolve into personal attacks and baseless accusations. We need to calm it down and not freak out all the time. We might disagree, but it doesn't mean we have to go after the person and pull out their jugular. It begs the question on, are we truly seeking truth and accountability? Or are we just watching a very public, very ugly divorce within the conservative movement? That's it.
And she's gloating and smiling while she does it. And you know what you told me? She has no security. She doesn't deal with the we have to deal with. She's a piece of she's making everyone else suffer. And all of these conservatives out there that send me these messages have no balls to call her out.
Okay. There are plenty of people who aren't watching her content and they're not suffering. Like, if her content is making you suffer, just don't watch her content. He's understandably emotional given the clear threat to his life. Okay. And I would be very upset about that too.
Whew, what a ride. This whole Tim Pool versus Candace Owens saga is less about policy and more about the raw battle for the soul and perhaps the direction of the conservative movement. Way too intense. It's a prime example of how quickly internal disagreements can become public spectacles, fueled by strong personalities and even stronger convictions. A critical tension: do we prioritize unity at all costs, even if it means stifling uncomfortable questions, or do we demand transparency and truth if it leads to public disagreements and internal fracturing? It's a question every movement, every party, every single person or situation has to answer. And right now, the right is wrestling with its own people in real time. What do you think? Is Candace Owens a truth seeker or a destructive force? Is Tim Pool genuinely concerned or just caught in a public meltdown? Let me know in the comments below. Thank you for watching and listening to our video. Please like and subscribe to our channel. We will talk with you the next time we need to uncover the real truth.